Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk back again with you guys for another episode of what is the Arsenal Transfer Show. Joining you every morning at 8 a.m. UK time. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for making this, as always, a part of your morning routines. It is very much appreciated. Drop a like, subscribe, all of that lovely stuff. And let me apologise because I am suffering with hay fever to the max. I was at a wedding reception last night that was like in a massive field full of freshly cut grass, and yeah, it's fair to say that I am sniffing this morning. Just so much going on, so I'm going to try and mute myself whenever I need to, but I am very much struggling. The eyes are rather puffy today, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to get through this relatively swiftly and still be able to answer plenty of questions. I'm also out this morning as well, so it's going to be a slightly more condensed show, but we're still going to get through the news, still get through some of your questions as well. But thank you so much for tuning in. No hangover this morning because it was a Muslim wedding, so no alcohol, so no hangover whatsoever. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to Stephen, Odder Relay, Paul, Temi, Carl, Jose, Franklin. Good morning to you, Matt G, Stevie, Granddaddy Gooner, Morgie, Kaiser, Anns, Olu, Marcus, Barry, Clincy, Mr. E, Tony. We've got Tizer, we've got Nadine, Wilson, Martin, Ponaru. We've got plenty more of you guys as well. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in, as always. And Daniel, thank you for asking. It was very good. It's kind of, stag doing the most kind of quotation mark sense. It was good. Played some good crazy golf. We went to a nice place for dinner, and it was nice. It was very good. So thank you very much for asking. Let's jump into our stories. I very much appreciate this. Ilkay Gundogan scoring in yesterday's FA Cup final twice to beat Manchester United. This guy cannot be more clutch if he tried. Cannot be more clutch if he tried. He just turns up in the biggest moments feasible, possible, and scores some massive, massive goals, and has helped them towards not only a Premier League title, but now the FA Cup. And who knows? I wouldn't bet against him popping up in the Champions League final and scoring as well. And you have to say that I commend Arsenal for doing their best to try and sign him on a free transfer this summer, but it doesn't seem to be that is going to be the case. Barcelona reportedly are very much closing in on the potential signing of Ilkay Gundogan, and it's going to be very unlikely, it seems, that he will be moving to Arsenal during the forthcoming summer transfer window. What we can tell you, though, is that the result of the FA Cup final means that Arsenal will play the Community Shield this summer after Man City's victory, because they have won both the league and the FA Cup. It means the team that finished in second place is the team now that will face Manchester City in that pre-season and the first weekend before the Premier League starts in that tournament. Now, Arsenal have a very good record, of course, in this Community Shield. Thinking back to the times where we won the FA Cups, we won the subsequent Community Shields. And of course, Arteta, after winning the FA Cup in 2020, went on to win the Community Shield against Liverpool as well on penalties. So, yes, very much so, got a good record, but Arsenal facing a very, very different type of test this time around in the tournament. But I look forward to it. Fingers crossed, Arsenal get their hands on another piece of silverware under Arteta. And it'll be great to start the season off greatly. But going up against Man City is going to be tricky. That said, Liverpool did indeed beat Man City in last year's Community Shield with Darwin Núñez scoring and Erling Haaland still adapting to the Premier League. And let's see if Arsenal's new signings, fingers crossed, can get all the difference needed to close the gap for the forthcoming campaign. Now, we are indeed looking to travel back to Germany again this summer to play in Nurnberg at the Adidas training centre that Arsenal visited last summer. There's intentions to return there. They felt that was a really good place to do some early preparations. We saw Gabriel Jesus join up with the squad then as well. And Arsenal will look to try and have made most of their summer signings as early as they can. So hopefully we see again some new signings involved in the proceedings there. It could also be an opportunity to see some of the players that have been returning from loan if they haven't indeed already moved on by that point, following Balogun scoring again last night along with El Yawahi in the game between Reims and Montpellier. So they're certainly players to keep an eye on for the summer. One definitely going to be at Arsenal, but for how long for, we don't know. The other maybe potentially still a target of Arsenal. But the intention is to go to Germany in the summer and indeed to play another friendly. Now, PSG, according to Goal, are interested in signing both Gabriel and William Saliba. They have identified both players that would be great additions to their squads, that would add a lot to their team. But Arsenal have no intention of letting either go. Gabriel, in particular, is very keen to remain at Arsenal, having signed a brand new contract only last season. He described the occasion as the best day of his life and that he feels very at home at Arsenal. William Saliba, the same. At the moment in time, still very keen on Arsenal, has spoken very, very happily and kindly of his time at Arsenal, and the club are still very confident of indeed securing William Saliba a brand new contract, news that we will keep you up to date with as soon as we get any updates upon as well. And moving into our couple of transfer stories for the day before we move to your questions in part two, Arsenal have not made a proposal yet for Sacha Boey, despite interest. That's according to Fabrizio Romano. We talked yesterday about reports coming out from Turkey that suggested that Arsenal had made a bid of around 20 million euros for Sacha Boey. However, Fabrizio Romano claiming that no proposal and no approach has been made yet to the young French player. The interest is there, but Arsenal are yet to make a move for the player. Yes, silly season is very much intertwined and underway as conflicting reports are rife at this stage. So if you are indeed trying to work your way through and sift through all of the noise, it's going to be a challenge because continually as we report different stories, each day we're going to find differences. As always, we will try and give you the best reports that we can, but I want to make sure that we are covering as many stories as indeed possible. But where people like Fabrizio Romano come out to dismiss those claims, we'll of course be letting you know when that is indeed the case. And you may have seen yesterday that our first ITK of the summer was indeed exposed yesterday on social media. It shouldn't take you too long to go and find exactly who that was. Moises Caicedo will choose between Arsenal, Chelsea and Liverpool in the next few hours. This is according to Ecuadorian site Terra Deportes, who actually had a good hand in revealing the information about Arsenal's interest in Caicedo before the actual January window opened. So they've got some weight in their reporting. And after he's decided, apparently we will know that destination next week. So it seems the Caicedo information is moving, is changing, is developing. And we're going to have to wait and see if indeed we get any updates on that front next week. But Chelsea, for instance, are very close, it seems, to securing a deal for Manuel Ugarte of Sporting Lisbon. Liverpool, though, are very much, it seems, in the frame. And Arsenal's interest, we know, exists and is still very keen on, but their focus seems to be on Declan Rice at the moment, but maybe it'll push Arsenal into action regarding a move for Caicedo. So let's wait and see what happens. Right, that's part one. Let's go to part two and your questions right after this. Right, let's go to some of your questions. First of all, Tom Sabal, thank you so much. Very kind of you for dropping in a donation and a good friend of the channel as well. Wide awake at 3 a.m. Must have been the Manchester United tears I drank at the pub yesterday, even though I was hoping for a sinkhole. Any thoughts of Zubimendi if we don't get our initial targets? Zubimendi is a player that Arsenal have been linked with. We know there's an interest in the player, and I know there was actually a keenness on signing him last January after Arsenal realised they couldn't sign either of Caicedo and Rice. There was interest in Zubimendi, but again, the player wanted to stay at Real Sociedad to help them qualify for the Champions League, which they did and have done, and they are expected to be part of the competition for next season. So that ambition has been achieved. Barcelona are very interested in him. They see him very much as the Sergio Busquets kind of natural replacement, so Arsenal will have to likely compete with them over any potential signing. And Real Sociedad will be asking for that 45 million, I believe it is, buyout clause to be met if anyone wants to try and sign him. But the interest is there. He's a very good talent, very good player, defensive first. So you're looking at a player that actually adds some real defensive quality to the team in the midfield if you were to sign him. Good distributor of the ball as well. But at the moment, there's no real noise on that front because Arsenal's priorities are Rice and Caicedo as their two main targets. Let's go to Daniel says the TGT Hitman is here. I'm not happy as there's 581. In fact, there's over 600 of you now watching and only 61 likes so far. Where's the likes for Tom's hard work on a Sunday morning? Daniel is doing the good work in the chat box. If you haven't yet dropped a like on the video, Please make sure you do. It does mean the world if you could. Jean says, how can Barca catch more players with their economics? It's close to scandalous. I mean, the choice of words is there. I mean, when it comes down to Barcelona, their finances, I'm lacking the understanding to know how it even works at this stage. I don't know how they keep doing it. Messi is confirmed to have left PSG. There's big suggestions that he could return to Barcelona. How are they doing it? Your guess is as good as mine. John says, Tom, do you think one of the conditions to signing Caicedo was that he gets somewhat a say in where he goes? I absolutely think that that's the case. I think that when he signed that brand new contract, they would have said to him that we will allow you to leave in the summer if we get the amount of money that we agree you are worth, and that he will get a say in where he wants to go. As I've said before, he's very keen on Arsenal. He likes Arsenal a lot. That's not to say that he doesn't like Chelsea, doesn't like Liverpool. He wants to play in the Champions League. Is absolutely something that he wants to do. Chelsea don't offer that, and neither do Liverpool. But, still he could choose to move somewhere. The economics of a Chelsea move might suit him better. Liverpool have got a lot of attraction still as a club that they know recently can win some of the biggest titles around. So it's a tough choice. But thankfully, Arsenal are very much in the frame and are a team that Caicedo likes. Matt says, do you think it's a possibility we didn't see Smith Rowe for so long because he's learning a new position, maybe the Xhaka role? I'm not sure, Matt, because when he came off the bench, he actually came on a lot in place of Martin Ødegaard. And it seems that attacking midfield role is actually where Arteta really sees his future, because that's where he was coming off the bench for. So I'm not necessarily sure that that is indeed the case. Let's go to Inkstermist says, morning, Tom. Considering Arteta's comments to improve players internally next season, what do you feel should we expect from Smith Rowe, Vieira and Nelson? Hopefully improvements in all of them. The problem that they've all got is that with Champions League football next season, they're in a situation where they are going to get the Europa League minutes that they got, and they are going to have to fight for minutes from the bench. Hopefully, Arteta uses his substitutes bench a lot earlier in games, uses it more frequently in games, and we see greater rotation between teams week in, week out, not only in the Premier League, but the Cups and the Champions League. Hopefully, we can see more from them. I want to see more goals. I want to see more minutes. I want to see greater levels of quality. Nelson, I think, has done that better than the other two, but I need to see more from all of them next season. Nadine, thank you so much for the kind donation. Let me just see if you've left a super chat. You have. See, some people leave the super chats and accidentally click enter without actually leaving their comments, but I got it. Nadine says, super chat question, will the Community Shield tickets go on general sale, or will they only be available to season ticket holders? I believe it's the latter. Depending on how many are bought up, usually what happens for cups, especially cup final tickets and games at Wembley, it's season ticket holders that get the priority, which makes sense. It makes sense that that's the case. People that pay a hell of a lot of money every season for their season tickets, they've had them for many, many years. That's just the way that it works to reward the loyal season ticket holders. I know that not everyone will see it that way, and I understand the reasons as to why, but that is the way that it goes. But of course, I don't know if anything goes on the exchange or anything like that. You'll have to wait and see. Next says, Tom, in the Caicedo news, I can see him going to Chelsea even though he wants to play in the Champions League. I think this move will come down to money. What you have to remember is if he moves to Chelsea, they're on the verge of signing Ugarte, who is a defensive midfielder. They've got Enzo Fernandez as well. There are other midfielders in those positions too. It's difficult. Potentially, they see him as the Mateo Kovacic replacement, who looks to be leaving. There's that as a potential as well. But I think that it's more likely that a move to Chelsea will be predicated more on money than anything else. Let's go to Badass Billy, who's very kindly left a donation as well. It says, hi, Tom. Keep up the great work. Do Arsenal have to play the Community Shield? As I'm sure it's a game Mikel could do without in our pre-season. Yes, we do have to play the Community Shield, and I don't think it's a game we could do without. I think it's a fantastic test. I think that Arsenal are keen to play some really big teams. You look at the teams that were playing in pre-season. Barcelona, Manchester United. These are teams that we're playing in these pre-season games. I expect there's going to be another tough fixture. We could play the Emirates Cup again, in which case we'll probably play another very decent side. We played Sevilla last season, who won the Europa League in that same campaign, and we beat them 6-0, wasn't it? So I think they do want to play this game, and I think they will see it as a really good opportunity to test out the squad. Let's go to Steve says, Tom, has your Sky effort at the Emirates landed yet? No. No, it hasn't. Let's go to a couple more questions, and then I'm going to have to wrap up. I know it's a quicker show this morning, but I have got things to do today. Ben says, hey, Tom, any news on the Emirates Cup? Does this change because of the Community Shield? My understanding is that discussions are still going on about the Emirates Cup. It's not been ruled out at this stage, but it could still happen. There's talks going on internally at the club about what they're going to do with the Emirates Cup. Rakeem says, have you seen the reports in the Mirror and the Daily Mail about Rice snubbing Arsenal? Hopefully false. I haven't seen the reply. I haven't seen those reports. Do a quick Google search for me. Daily Express says, Arsenal to miss out on Declan Rice's Bayern Munich deal close in rapid transfer turn. According to transfer expert Jose Felix Diaz, Rice's move to the Allianz Arena is now close as the 24-year-old looks set to make a surprise move to join Thomas Tuchel's side in Germany. Rice's representatives reportedly met Bayern chiefs in London to discuss a move on Friday, and the midfielder was given the feeling that he could imagine signing for the Bavarian outfit. I think that that's a bit fanciful at this stage. I'm not saying that he won't go Bayern. I'm just saying that I think that that's a little bit too far than my feeling on the situation. Arsenal are very much knowing and waiting for the Conference League final to be done and finished. Talks have gone on with the player for quite some time, and representatives, unofficial talks, if you like. So, I'm not, at the moment, I'm not concerned about the Bayern side of things. I might be after the conference final if a big comes in and West Ham start accepting it, but let's wait and see what happens. I'm not yet concerned, and I'm still very hopeful about Arsenal's move for Rice at this moment in time. Let's go to Tizer says, Tom, fans keep saying that we lost the league at West Ham, Southampton. I disagree. I believe we lost it with the results against City. 2 draws give us the hope of a league by a point, and this is where we need to improve. Now, I agree with you, Tizer. I think you can't lose to the Man City, the team that win the league twice, and expect to win it yourself. It's just not feasible. It's just not realistic. For me, we lost the league actually at Anfield as well. I think the Anfield game was the big game that cost us. I think if we'd have won that game, it would have given us great momentum going into the West Ham game and the Southampton game. And then you go and play City off the back of 10 wins, I think, in a row. I think that game would have changed everything for us had we have won it. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be. Let's go to Abdul says, Tom, do you reckon with the fringe players like Smith Rowe, Reece and Vieira, it's a question of Mikel trusting them? I don't see the trust at the same level as Saka, Martinelli, for example. Yeah, there is that as well. And I think, to be fair, especially with ESR and Vieira, they've not shown this season that they can produce the levels of Saka and Martinelli. I think Nelson has shown a lot actually this season. I think that's why he's gone above both Vieira and Smith Rowe in the pecking order when he decides to bring a substitute on. I think he's been very impressed by Nelson. I think that's absolutely the reason why they have gone to sign him up to a brand new contract. Let's go to Smith Rowe or Szoboszlai, says Jonathan. Smith Rowe at the moment, absolutely. Let's invest in the player that we've got and use money elsewhere for the other midfield areas as well. Maximir says, hey, Tom, in the winter window, we were linked with Højlund. What are your views on us going for him and how can he suit us? I am keen on the guy. I think he's a very good young striker that would offer us something different in that forward role. He's not as expensive as the Kolo Muanis, the Gonçalo Ramoses, the Osimhens of this world. So maybe if you're spending a lot on the midfield and defence, you could still get hold of a Højlund. But there are risks. He's not yet what I would say established in Europe's top 5 leagues. That are okay, decent season, with Atalanta after scoring a lot of goals for Sturm Graz and then scoring a lot of goals for Denmark in his early games as well. But there's still a lot of question marks about a 20-year-old player. You don't want it to turn into a Kasper Dolberg situation, who, again, at a similar age to Højlund, had a lot of promise and then never fulfilled it. So you don't want to fall into that trap. But there is a lot of talent there, very much, clearly. A lot of talent there. Let's go to Chris. Did you see how Man United gave City a run for their money? That is what I expected when we went to the Etihad. What I would say, Chris, is that they were very, very fortunate to get the penalty that they did, because they're fortunate in the sense that the rules exist the way that they exist, because annoyingly, in the rules, that's a penalty. City were on their way to an absolute hiding, and that penalty decision, which, again, it's a really annoying one to discuss because I don't think that should be a penalty, but by the letter of the law that it is, it is. And also, I agree with Mike here. City played at 50%. They were playing with that Champions League final in mind, and they still were able to win that game. But we do need to be better in giving Man City. And if you remember our game against Man City in the FA Cup, we only lost 1-0. And we played a rotated team with Holding and Vieira starting, etc. So I don't think you can necessarily use that game as a litmus test for what Arsenal should or should not have done. Right, we are going to go to one more question. AFC Till I Die says, will Saliba sign, yes or no? I'm going to say yes, predicated on that being very much theory, but I'm going to go with yes. AFC Till I Die and everybody else, thank you so much for listening. Really appreciate your time as always. Do drop a like on the video. Do subscribe to the channel if you're new and drop a like on the video. It means a lot. I will see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. bright and early. And as always, up the Arsenal.